Hey there, Jeff here. So, just got an album in by a band that honestly I don't recall ever seeing really anybody in the VC talk about. I don't know. I'm sure people out there know the band and like the band, but it's not one that I've seen shown that much. And it's King's X. So what happened with this is their first album from what 1989, I believe 88, and so I have the plan on Amazon where I share links and you make a little bit of money, and so you get commissions every so often, and so every couple months I get a little something kickback because I have things on other sites. And so I got one the other day for a little over $20, and I went looking, and this had actually popped up on my watch list that I have for Amazon, the site that I've talked about in the past, where it monitors my want list and it notifies me via email when something drops below a price that I want it for. So this dropped down. This is a fairly new release, and everywhere I look for these, they're in the upper 30s dollar range. And so I had it set to notify me when it went below 25. And this one dropped to 23. I had this commission for $20 and change, so I threw that in there, and for $4 I grabbed me this. Now it was listed as being mild cosmetic damage to the casing, might come repackaged, blah 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 blah. One of those Amazon Prime deals. It wasn't an Amazon warehouse, it was just an Amazon deal. But as you can see, it's still in the shrink wrap. So I don't know what. The only thing I can see that might be is there's a little ding there. It's even hard to tell. It's like a little groove. Feels like maybe it's sat on a rack or something. I mean, really nothing. Even a minor bend there. So I don't know. I don't know what they were talking about. It's brand new. One of my favorite albums. Their first. It's great. If you don't know who King's X are, now this is on Metal Blade Records, but they're not really a metal band. So the reason this actually came to mind is because recently, on and off for the past couple weeks, I've been reading this book right here. It is the authorized biography of Doug Pinnick, the vocalist for King's X. So I've been learning a lot of the early history of Doug's work and his bands he was in that led up to King's X. And all the way, I'm at the point now in the book, which is still kind of early on, but I'm at that point in the book where they've just produced this album. And so as I was reading it the other night, I started listening to it again, just recalling how much I really loved it. And then I noticed on Amazon that the price dropped. It was almost kind of like all the stars aligned. So yeah, I thought it was time to grab this. Now, I had mentioned this band before. They're a three-piece power trio, lots of harmonies, funky, kind of metallic, kind of not. So they really have a unique sound, and even the story behind how they got on Metal Blade, they were the most unique band at the time on Metal Blade. So they really kind of didn't fit, but it worked. But before they did this, they had to pay their dues, and so they were involved. Doug, the singer bass player, had done a lot of stuff as backing band. I didn't even realize that at one point he did some work with Petra, the Christian band. Then he did some stuff with Phil Keaggy as a backing band. And then I had mentioned in a video a long time ago how the three guys from King's X were the backing band for Morgan Cryer, another contemporary Christian pop rock thing. So what it was is they worked with the label in Texas as a backing band for this artist. They wrote some of the songs. They went on tour with him with the intent that the label would help them get signed to a label. So they did this album. Their time was up. The record label shopped them around, couldn't get them a deal. They eventually made calls to this person, that person, and that label actually eventually led them to get help getting signed to Metal Blade. So they did eventually work that out. What I didn't realize is once they gave up this gig, these three guys went on to do their first King's X album. But when they gave up that gig as Morgan Cryer's backing band, the next three guys that stepped in, or at least two of them, I think, maybe it was all of them, that stepped in as Morgan Cryer's backing band was this band, The Awful Truth. Another absolutely one of my favorite bands. Very similar in style in a way to King's X. They have that, they're both from Texas, so. But these guys filled the shoes of where King's X went. And then eventually they released their own album, also, I believe, on Metal Blade. Also on Metal Blade. Another Texas band, really great stuff. Two of these, another power trio, two of these three guys then later went on to form Galactic Cowboys, another Texas band, very similar in styles in a way to King's X. One of the best rock shows I think I ever saw was in the mid 90s. I saw Galactic Cowboys open for King's X. I'm just like, how can two of my all-time favorite bands be together? But it makes sense because they're, again, they same producer, I think, and everything. Now, Galactic Cowboys is another band I've never really heard anybody discuss on here. They have a pretty wide discography. There, you know, that album is their most recent. They came out with a couple years ago after a reunion. Their first album is available a lot of places on vinyl, and it is one of my grails. It's one that I hope to one day find. Most of their other stuff is not. Maybe their second album, I'm not sure, because this would have been in the late 80s, early 90s. One of my all-time favorite bands, King's X, though, as the story goes, before they got signed, they were sneak preview. There's the three guys. Kind of a different feel, different sound. Didn't do a whole lot. And then, as you can see, they have done it quite a bit over the years. So, I won't waste a lot of time, but that is their first album. And then this is another one that I really... They have reissued the first four on vinyl just in the past couple years, between 2015 and 2017. So these are the ones that, you know, really want to get. Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. Great stuff. Faith, Hope, Love. Now, if you were around back in the day, some of their videos were on MTV for these first few albums. This is just their fourth album called King's X. I think that might be the extent of where the vinyl reissues have stopped, or maybe they did come out with Dogman. To me, this is where they kind of made a change in sound. They lost a little of the funkiness and became a little rockier, and then they kind of the sound kind of morphs as bands do, you know. Ear Candy. Actually, I take that back. This one, maybe I've seen that one on vinyl also. They have a best of that has 3 new tracks. Tapehead. This is where their sound started getting a little odd, different. Please Come Home, Mr. Bulbous. Hard to describe. This was like a really great Manic Moonlight. They really, to me, kind of started feeling a little bit more like the old stuff again, kind of getting that groove back. Same with Black Like Sunday. Those are two of my really favorite bands. I have a live album. Ogre Tones. Another very good one. Another live album. And then their last album is 15. And that's the last thing they did. And this was a handful of years ago. They have all been involved in other bands. The singer's done a bunch of side projects. Ty Tabor, the guitar player, I showed him recently with the recent album for he's done a bunch of side bands. And Jelly Jam is one of the ones, but he's done a lot of projects too, a lot of solo albums and things along that line. But anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I just, I don't know. Have you ever heard of King's X? I'm glad to have this, one of my favorite albums, and I'm hoping to grab some of the other ones. The local store, I have a local store that has the other ones that came out recently, but again, the prices tend to be close to $40 in local stores and then 30-something online. So I'm kind of watching them and, to keep an eye on until the prices drop. But like I say, I don't hear a lot of love for King's X. Check them out if you haven't. They have a little groove for something for everyone. I mean, if you're into any kind of rock, they have, just enough of an edge to be, hard rock, and then they have quite a bit of light sides that's got some really good stuff. Anyway, just wanted to update that. I'm really glad to have this. I'm really glad that it has no damage. I don't have a clue why they knocked it down $15, but I'll take it. Thanks a lot. Rock on.